Welcome to this episode of our program Daily Debate. As usual, we will be discussing an important topic. Today we'll be speaking or will be wrapping up some of the important events that took place during this week with a focus on two important topics or two important events. The first is the family or the Egyptian family iftar the president held, and the other would be the presidential initiative Decent Life. During the Egyptian family iftar, we've seen the president inviting a number of families, a number of people, a number of prominent figures, a number of high-ranking officials, some of the important figures in some of the political parties, some of the important figures in some of the NGOs, a range of intellectuals and many of the public figures. During this iftar, the president has spoke frankly and sincerely to the people, where he objectively spoke about what the country has been through since the 2011 up till 2014 and what the country has witnessed during this very particular period, discussing and telling people frankly what happened and how the country has seen a real economic crisis and collapse. It was on the verge of a complete collapse, as the president said. He then spoke about how the country did a lot of effort in order to be able to overcome the burdens and the hurdles that were put during that period and to overcome the repercussions that have been witnessed during those years. Definitely, the president has praised some of our partners. He extended his appreciation for the Egyptian people who tolerated the economic reforms made by the country in order to be able to overcome the economic crisis. He extended his appreciation for our Arab brothers who supported Egypt in one of its most difficult stages. He also praised the Sinai tribes and residents for enduring and supporting the army in overcoming, and of course Egypt in overcoming many obstacles, and made some of the very important instructions and directives during this iftar. Some of them were for the very first time made throughout his very frank discussion with people to his vision for the future. That will be discussed in our episode tonight, the directives of the president and this very particular iftar that has been seen by or followed up by all Egypt. In our second part of this episode, we'll be speaking about one important, very important initiative, presidential initiative that has been put into action since 2019, Decent Life. Decent Life, which is seeing a coverage to more than 60 million people in Egypt, which is trying to change the scene in the rural areas, villages, urban areas, and is trying to put a real decent life for Egyptian people in a way that help them contribute to the vision of the country and live the life they aspired for. We'll be speaking about that and more in our episode with our distinguished guest, Dr. Nevine, Nakhla, expert in business and administration. We thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Right.
My pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours. Before we delve into our discussion, let me first take this first report. And Egypt faced great challenges, achieved greater success. President Sisi at the Egyptian family iftar. Let's watch.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدات والسادة الحضور الكريم.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said Egypt has faced great challenges over the past years but achieved greater success. Speaking at the Egyptian family iftar banquet on Tuesday, the president vowed to remain honest with Egyptians and loyal to the homeland. Sinai tribal leaders, representatives of farmers and political parties, artists, intellectuals, academics, businessmen, youth and women attended the event. The president said that the incidents of the TV series Al-Ikhtiyar 3 or The Choice 3, which depicts the period following the 25th of January Revolution 2011, have in fact taken place. He said Egypt ran out of foreign currency reserves in a period fraught with crisis that no president would have been able to overcome. President al-Sisi went on to say that Egypt suffered losses worth $37 billion in less than 24 months due to post-2011 turmoil, noting that the army spent 1 billion Egyptian pounds monthly for 7 years to eradicate terrorism. The head of state said that Egypt's credit rating retreated 6 times from 2011 till 2013. He added that 35,000 cases of encroachments on agricultural lands were recorded between 2011 and 2013. The president noted that that period witnessed a hike in unemployment rates and a sharp decline in foreign reserves. El-Sisi added that Arab countries' support since 2013 has contributed to preserving the Egyptian state, hailing the great financial support Arab states gave between 2013 and 2014, and saying that they provided Egypt with tens of billions of dollars to support the country's economy. The president noted that Egyptians have borne the brunt of implementing an ambitious and necessary program for economic reform, which was implemented in tandem with rebuilding and developing the state's infrastructure. He said Egypt's development strides have been firm and steady, and its will to realize progress is unwavering. El-Sisi greeted Sinai tribal leaders and thanked them for their cooperation with the state, stressing that the state targets achieving real development in Sinai. He asserted that the state has managed to overcome the coronavirus crisis and will be able to deal with the repercussions of the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. During his speech, President El-Sisi issued a set of economy-related directives, chief among which was directing the government to hold an international press conference to declare the Egyptian state's plan to deal with the world economic crisis and to attract investments in the fields of infrastructure, energy, tourism, and real estate development. He also assigned the government to support local wheat farmers in Egypt and provide them financial and service incentives to increase Egypt's local wheat production and reach self-sufficiency. He announced the launch of an initiative to strengthen local industries and reduce imports while granting a 5-year tax exemption. The president also directed different state bodies to back civil society activities and community action to achieve sustainable development. The president gave instructions to reinstate the Presidential Pardon Committee, which was initially formed in 2016. El-Sisi directed the government to continue organizing exhibitions and fairs that offer staple commodities at affordable prices. He ordered National Youth Conference organizers to hold a wide-ranging dialogue on issues of interest to society and to refer the recommendations to him. The president asserted that he was keen to activate political reform programs, noting that the state intends to initiate a dialogue comprising all political forces. El-Sisi ordered the government to draw up an urgent action plan to reduce debt and cut the budget deficit in addition to developing the EGX. He directed the government to launch a 4-year program that allows the private sector to hold stakes in state-owned assets with a target of $10 billion annually. The president revealed that a sum of 45 million Egyptian pounds has been allocated to pardon indebted jailed persons.
Right, welcome back. And indeed, the country has endured lots and lots during that period, but we have gone ahead, and in 8 years we're not just ahead, but we have gone so far. And with the determination and the will of our leadership, we will continue on and on. Let me again welcome our guest, Dr. Nevine Nakhla, expert in business administration. We thank you again for being with us.
My pleasure.
And I'll start directly.
Yes.
This significant, very significant Egyptian family iftar.
Yes.
And we have followed up together the speech by the president, which was so transparent, so objective, and to the point.
And like we are used to His Excellency, our beloved President, with his very transparent and very human and very fatherhood to all the Egyptian citizens. The iftar, let's begin with the people invited. Everyone was invited.
Indeed.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Yes.
Indeed.
From all the political leaders, all the political families, everyone. And his speech was very frank and very transparent and very empowering to everyone.
Since you brought up the issue of everyone,
Yes.
how did you read that?
I read that no bias. He's very honest. He really is looking forward for everyone to work together for the benefit of our country and for the benefit of the sustainable development of the country. And even he was talking about the civil society, he was talking about the private sectors, he was encouraging everyone, all the political leaders, all the NGOs, everyone to work together as one citizen, one person for the development.
One nation.
One nation for the
One
development.
nation.
Equity and equality and everything is very correct and very straightforward. No hidden agendas, nothing. Even you see that the people were out from the political batch which came out a few days before the iftar, and a lot of reforms, a lot of a very straight vision. With the whole government and all the state, all the ministries, everyone is following a real strategic vision for a sustainable development and reform, economical, cultural, everything.
How did you see everyone coming as an extending a hand to all the currents in the whole country to come together and prioritize the interests of the country? And if I speak about the currents, I'm speaking about the political parties,
Yes.
even the opposition. I'm speaking
Yes.
about all entities together as long as, of course, they did not commit a crime against the country.
Exactly.
How did you see that?
His Excellency said that he's not biased to anyone, he's not following anyone, he is really putting everyone together in one boat to ship to the safe and the best economic reform for Egypt and for the decent life of citizens, Egyptian citizens. So this was very clear. I mean, also, if you saw that a lot of decisions were taken, and when I was watching the speech, His Excellency's speech, I divided the decisions to 3 sectors.
Indeed, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Economical,
Yes.
political, and social.
Indeed, exactly. So, let's start first with the political ones, because they were very, very different.
Yes, and new.
Indeed, very different, very new, very encouraging.
Yes.
So, please illustrate.
His Excellency was saying that he asked the youth to make the meeting with all the political leaders, all the political bodies, and he himself, he was going to follow up.
Hold a national dialogue.
Exactly, a national dialogue, political dialogue. And he himself, he said he is going to attend the last phase and he's going to be informed with every part of the dialogue. So he was very much interested. And also he asked from the youth to sit together with everyone and to work hard on the development, the sustainable development of Egypt.
Actually, this was divided into 2 sections. One is for the those who are working in the youth conference. And yes, and those youth to sit together with the political parties in order to put some of the important files and priorities for the country and reports back to him in person. That was one. But the other was a very important one as well, reviving the role of the civil society associations and NGOs.
Exactly.
And that would be put under the National Alliance for Civil and Development Work, or the DACDW. Let me know more about this, because we are aware that this year was dedicated for the civil society. It was named the Year of the Civil Society. Please.
Okay, since 2019, since the law was reformed and a lot of things showed that we were coming to the 2022 Civil Society Year, it is an honor for the civil society and the NGOs to be responsible and to be part of the country development plan. Putting them on the same table to talk about the political and about how to develop the country, this was very significant, especially this year, to name the year for them. It shows their contribution and seriousness and the impact. If you see the last year, the civil society worked hardly with the initiatives, with the presidential initiatives for, let's say, the 100 million health initiative. And they really impacted and they really made 30% of the efforts was from the civil society. So they are partners. The government cannot work alone without all the civil society. The civil society, they are divided into many sectors. It could be the geographic sectors where they are located. Sometimes the small NGOs and the small community service organizations in the small villages, they are easier to reach the citizen because they are closer to the culture and to the language and to the way the people think. Sometimes it's an umbrella organization with branches. Sometimes it's the division of the field of work. Some of them are in the health, education, community service, economic empowerment, training. So the use of all these civil society organizations with hand in hand with the many presidential initiatives like Decent Life and like the new initiative that I like very much, the Egyptian Family Development Program.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, this will start, I think, November or October 2022 for the next 3 years. And it's a very important initiative. I see it. It's going to do a tremendous jump in the Decent Life initiative.
We'll come
Yes.
to this point
Yes.
in our second segment, because second segment would be totally focused on decent life, and we'll bring about this
family
this part
Egyptian.
again,
Yes.
to speak more accurately. Getting back to some of other directives that were given by the president, and we have some very important economic directives and social ones.
Social ones.
And I want to speak about them both because
Okay.
because of the time.
Okay, the economical decisions and from His Excellency speech were very, what you say, for the private sector, giving hand to the private sector. He said that he is going to do double, the government is going to do double efforts for the private sector to hold on in the economy, and also the local industrials, the local manufacturing will be very much supported as well as the exchange, the stock market exchange.
Which will see a boost.
Yes, a lot of national governmental companies will be in the stock market, stock market exchange, and also at the end of this year, military organizations and companies will be also.
You mean here state-hold and military-hold companies will be put into the stock market?
The stock market.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's divide what you said into sectors, because they all came together. Okay.
Yes.
So the president started with first directives to the government to come up with a complete plan to how they will be dealing with the global economic crisis at that part. The other in this area also was culminating the situation, helping or creating a conducive atmosphere for investment and attracting foreign investment. And the third one was to encourage the national industries. In which way?
In opening
because
more.
People would really want to, yes, those are very, very, very integral theories. But how will put words into deeds? This is what I guess our audience outside would really want to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, the support for the local industries. His Excellency and the government and the state are working to making production locally and to a little bit stop the importation of things that you can really produce in Egypt and export. So working hard with the private sector on this issue is one of the priorities and one of the important things to assure that there is quality and governance in the local production. Also regarding the companies being in the exchange market, the stock exchange, it's very important, so people will start investing and taking leads and knowing more.
Yes.
If you look in one of the parts of the decisions and in His Excellency speech also, he was talking about the wheat farmers' support. And also he was talking about the support for the subsidized commodities.
The non-subsidized commodities. But here, let me take one important issue that I guess our audience, the investors, particularly those who are outside Egypt, would really want to understand. Now, the president has urged the government to take some of the important, urgent measures in order to improve the investment climate and attract foreign direct investments in many fields. How do you think, or exactly how the leadership or the president addressed the situation, or exactly the steps that he spoke about? Because we're speaking about infrastructure, we're speaking about energy, we're speaking about health, we're speaking about education, digital transformation, we're speaking about investors in opportunities, tourism, industrial, agriculture, real estate development, many fields, and the president has called on the government to put some measures in order to be able to attract investors in such areas. How do you view what the president spoke about here?
He spoke about a full ecosystem to encourage the foreign investment. As you see in Suez Canal and the logistic hubs taking place, the infrastructure, a lot of making the transportation infrastructure and a lot of logistic hubs, a lot of reforms, a lot of economical reforms, a lot of, as you see the new cities like El Alamein and the new capital city, the smart cities, digital transformation for all the government and for all the financial inclusion,
yes,
it's a whole
preparing the land for
foreign investment and for local investment,
infrastructure,
as well. Infrastructure and for industry, to make local industries, to manufacture locally.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He also asked here for some of the legal aspects or laws to be adjusted,
yes,
to give them some incentives. We'll be speaking more about this and continue our episode, and definitely we'll be focusing on decent life and how it's changed the scene in Egypt or across the Egyptian governorates in villages and urban areas. Before we continue on with our discussion, let's take this report and we'll come back for more discussion.
Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said the cost of implementing the presidential initiative Haya Karima, or Decent Life, is much the same as rebuilding an entire country. He added that the initiative is focused on developing the Egyptian countryside and improving the quality of life of its population of roughly 60 million people. In his statements during the Egyptian family iftar banquet, the premier noted that the cost of implementing Decent Life initiative stands at over £800 billion, noting that the state has no alternative but to continue this giant project that touches the lives of all Egyptians and generates millions of jobs in rural areas. Madbouli also said that working in each village of the initiative is a challenge in itself because the villages were initially established without much planning. He explained that the cost of replanning is 3 times more than starting work on empty land and that there is no alternative to implementing the project. He said that the unemployment rate ranged between 14 to 15% in 2012 and 2013. But now, and in spite of all the challenges facing the country, including those of the coronavirus crisis and the Ukrainian conflict, as well as the problem of the swelling population, it has declined to 7.5%. He also said that had it not been for the many national projects launched by the state, the rate could have been 20%. Medbouli pointed out that the state puts a large amount of spending on projects, while the private sector faced difficult conditions that made it unable to do anything, as it was barely able to maintain its existing status. He stressed that the country is capable of development and progress, and that it has achieved record numbers witnessed by the whole world despite their existing challenges, stressing the need to make efforts for decades to achieve the desired progress.
Right, welcome back, and back to you, Dr. Nevine. And we'll make a kind of mix, because this great initiative is now seeing the fruits of 2 years of work. We are in the second phase, and it has already contributed significantly to lots and lots of areas. So part of the directives given by the President were to support farmers who are cultivating wheat, and also to provide citizens with the basic goods, and continue on with the outlets that they started during the holy month of Ramadan, plus an important all-over or integral plan for this upcoming phase. How is that carried out in a way, or will be further a continuation to what already Decent Life Initiative, this very important presidential initiative, has been working?
Okay, Decent Life Initiative, as you saw, how many billions spent on it, and it's targeting 20 governorates, 52 states, and around 60 million population. It's divided into many pillars, and one pillar is the housing, the roofs, the electricity, these services. These villages were not having any, the basic infrastructure was not there. Like our Prime Minister was just saying, it is more difficult to adjust than to rebuild, and it's more expensive to adjust than to rebuild. Also building in the education, building schools, more capacity in classes, in the health, building more hospitals, there are some villages they didn't have hospitals or health centers near them. If you have an emergency, people would have died on the way because they don't have the health. Now it's totally different. A lot of training, a lot of economic empowerment, especially for women and youth, changing the life of these villages to a real decent life, and changing the way of supporting from protection to empowering and job creation and entrepreneurship. A lot have been, a lot took place.
We spoke about, before this episode, we spoke about the entrepreneurship and startups. And we spoke about some of those involved in Decent Life going to households, women and youth, in order to give them the experience of how they can go through Please tell us more about this.
Okay, there is another initiative coming in the pipeline, started the vision of it and the strategies and everything. It's the Egyptian Family Development Program. And also, we had this week a meeting with His Excellency and the Prime Minister and a lot of other ministries regarding this program with the Ministry of Social Solidarity initiative of the rural villagers, women villagers leaders. These are very much trained, and they are going to work hand in hand with the Decent Life Initiative and the Egyptian Family Development Program to go to the houses, to the ladies, to do two different things. One thing is, of course, the decent life and the economic empowerment and the empowerment. The other thing is the family planning and the control of the growth population and the culture, to give them cultural awareness on the problems caused by the growth in population. These women leaders, their role is to really get to the Decent Life Initiative and the other program to get the real problems and the real needs of the people on the ground. They'll be divided into villages, and they will be talking one-to-one, doing a lot of things. Regarding the other initiative, we were talking about the program of the Egyptian Family Development. It has also 5 pillars: economical, training, cultural, and digital transformation. There is something there is a huge incentive going to all the women age 21 to 40 who are married, and they reach the age of 40 with having only 2 kids. They're going to have like a fund. They're going to have 60,000 Egyptian pounds as an incentive for them to follow certain rules. The new program, it has a criteria: women, youth, children, university and school children, women aged 18 to 40. A lot is going on, very integrated, very much put together on the same table with the same vision of Egypt 2030 vision. Very strategic. Everything is in one.
Yes, on course. Here I would really want to understand how this, yes, Decent Life is trying to fulfill the aspiration of people and putting them on the right decent life that they aspire for. But at the same time, it is preparing people or giving them the chance in order to be able to contribute
Exactly.
to the sustainable development vision of the country.
Yes.
How is that?
This has been, this is already in place because, as we said, we are getting leaders, women leaders from the villages, youth leaders from the villages, and making people contribute with the government and the social, the civil society, working together with the government. Everyone is working together, so there is the sense of ownership. It is not the government doing things to the village.
Yes.
Like we said, like we saw in the villages, you see that group of villagers, they go and plant trees in a certain area. They started the recycling and garbage collection. So when you let people really work together with the government and all the community and all the NGOs and the small, even the small civil society, the small organizations in the villages, this gives ownership, and this
Yes. Yes.
Also, the Ministry of Social Solidarity.
I can't.
Oh,
Because
okay.
my time is out. But I know that this issue and the Decent Life initiative and all the directions given by the President, all this needs hours and hours
Yes.
to be discussed. But unfortunately, my time is out. Dr. Nevine Nakhla, expert in business and administration, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess that takes us to the end of this episode. We needed to speak more, but there will be other episodes, and we'll continue on with the discussions that has started during the past period. Many thanks for watching. Good night.